Live on this Labor Day 2023. We are attired more relaxed today because it was a nice, relaxed day. I did my radio show, so I don't know that it was a day off, but felt like a day off because we took a nice long ride out to Bedminster, New Jersey. Who knows what's in Bedminster, New Jersey? A golf course. Lots of New Jersey people. Oh, yes, yes. A lot of New Jersey taxpayers. Many Americans.
A lot of trees.
Oh, yeah. And a fair amount of Revolutionary War history.
Yes.
In Bedminster?
Well, yeah, the Morristown, really. Morristown was the key. Morristown is, I guess, the major city in that area. So the American troops and the British troops were messing around there for quite some time. But I guess the best thing it is known for now is a world-class golf course called Bedminster, 2 18s, and the Donald Trump National Golf Course. And of course, the occasion was to have lunch with the former president and my son, Andrew. And we had quite a very interesting lunch. First thing I'm going to tell you is the single most important thing that I was asked a lot on my radio show and by lots of friends and many, many sarcastic people. Sarcastic meaning non-believing, dishonest, creepy kind of people, you know? And they wanted to know if Trump had really won the golf tournament. So I'm going to give you a couple of areas of proof. You can still deny it, I guess, after I tell you this. First of all, I have a picture. Unfortunately, it's on my Getter phone. I'll have to show it at the end here. I have a picture of the board showing Trump the winner. Number two, I watched him play for three holes, last 3 holes. And he and my son defeated they played 3 people, defeated 3 people. And they shot maybe, I believe, I know he shot 68. Maybe that Andrew shot 67. Maybe 66. Andrew shot, I think, one or 2 strokes lower. But both of them way below par, way below 72, which is the par. And the guys they beat shot like 70, 72, and 73. So these are really good golfers. These are golfers who play around par, which means 2% of the golfers in the world, 1%, I don't know, something like that. And watching the president play, watching him swing, watching him putt, and knowing his game now for 20 years or so, 25 years, he won the championship, I'm telling you. I know the other people. I mean, I belong to this club. I know the people. He played again. He beat him fair, square. I know it's tough for people to admit that he's a world-class golfer. He's in the top 1%. And I may be maybe even wrong. I may be even cheating him a little. He may be in the top 0.5% of golfers in the world. I guarantee you, unless you're a professional golfer or you're a club champion, he's going to beat you. The ones that are making fun of him, he's going to beat the living daylights out of you. I can't imagine there are too many in politics that could play with him, much less beat him. So I don't think that's important, in terms of anything other than why this stuff about everything he does is criticized. Like the guy does everything wrong. Now, for a guy who does everything wrong, which is what I think maybe is the answer. I think we need a president who does everything wrong, because the president who does everything wrong, everything comes out right. Right? People say to me, I don't like him. Did you like his policies? I don't remember his policies. Okay, try a little. For example, was there a war in Ukraine? No. Gasoline was what, about 40% cheaper? Yeah, sometimes 60, 70% cheaper. Yeah. Do you do grocery shopping with your wife? My wife. Does she complain? Oh, does she complain? Sometimes she tells me it's 2-3 times what it used to be. It can't be 2-3 times. I said it isn't 2-3 times. But it is about 60-70% more. Woo! I go, yeah, no wonder we're having trouble saving any money. I said, during the last years since Biden, have you saved any money? No, we had to borrow money. What about during Trump, the 4 years of Trump? Oh, we made, we saved it. We've been living off some of that money. Oh, so, were you doing better off 4 years ago? Oh yeah, a lot better off. Yeah, but he's still a nasty guy. What about Biden? Do you think Biden's a good guy? Oh, Biden's a great guy. Biden's a little stupid, but he's a great. Everybody knows he's a little stupid. I said, well, first of all, you think he's stupid, or do you think he's senile? I said, he looks a little sheepish, and he says, he looks like my father-in-law when he was in the hospital with Alzheimer's. I said, yeah, I know. How is your father-in-law better off than him? Yeah, probably. Okay, so he's senile, right? All right, he's senile. Did you know he wouldn't recognize his granddaughter for 4 years? For Christmas, they put out Christmas stockings for 6 granddaughters. He had a 7th. He said, that's vicious. That's cruel. That's evil. I said, Biden did that. He said, did? Yeah, I didn't see that in the papers. Of course you didn't. You listen to my show, don't you? Well, I don't pay attention to everything. Oh. You think that's a nice guy? No. He's getting nasty with the press all the time, isn't he? Like really nasty. How about? Yeah, but so did Trump. Yeah, but you're telling me you didn't like Trump. I don't know. You know Trump's family life. You know how close he is to his family. You think Trump would disown one of his granddaughters? No, I don't think so. I think he's a prick, but I don't think he would do that. So, what the hell? What's going on here? Can I very respectfully ask you to consider, but don't answer it now, and come back to me in 2 days. I want you to think about all the things we just said. I want you to see, do you think maybe you were brainwashed? And he hasn't answered back yet. So we're going to see if he's been brainwashed. We're going to see. He's an honest guy. We make an interesting answer here and an interesting approach. So Trump widens his lead. That we're going to start on a good note here on Labor Day night. He widens his lead now so that 59% of the Republicans are for him, 11% are for DeSantis, 13% of it are for DeSantis. He's widened his lead since the last criminal prosecution to 46%. I mean, that isn't even a lead. I don't know what you call that, 46%. I don't think I was ever ahead in the poll by 46%. 46%.
In a 10-person race, Mayor. That's amazing.
And Christie, 3% of people don't remember Christie's name. Remember when I said he had a zero? People said to me, how could you have a 0.3 on a poll? You're -3. It's like -3. You can't have -3. There's either 0 or something. Here's what happens. They give you a bunch of polls, right? And people say, I don't know who he is. That's a minus. See, if they don't vote for you, it's a 0. If they just don't vote for you, it's a 0. But when they say things are so bad, they don't even know who you are. And when you're that size and they can't remember you, I consider it -2. Right? Like if it were, let's say somebody like maybe Pete Buttigieg, who's a little tiny, tiny little Pete Buttigieg. He might be hard to see. So if he had a -2, I wouldn't count because people didn't. It wasn't just that they didn't know him; they didn't see him. Now, in the case of Christie, he looks like two people on the stage. So if you don't know him, that's a -2. Sorry. So Christie's at -2. Everybody else, except for DeSantis, has 3 or 4%. 3 or 4%. What are they doing in the race? I mean, I really do think it's time for Christie to start thinking about the Republic and to start thinking about how terrible and bad and awful it is that Biden is the president, and how terrible and bad and awful it would be if Biden continues to be the president or some facsimile thereof, meaning any Democrat. And he should start thinking about how do we elect Trump so that we save our country. I mean, he's got to know deep down, come on, stop all the little critiques and all the. He's really never made any serious criticism of Trump, really. It's been, I don't like his staff. He could have handled COVID better. He knows in his heart that there's no choice. Should it be Trump and Newsom, Trump and Mrs. Obama, Trump and who else is there? Your governor,
Whitmer.
Whitlis. Your Governor Whitlis. Governor Whitlis.
Newsom.
Yeah.
Murphy, New Jersey, and
no, it can't be Murphy. Murphy has to complete his job in New Jersey, which is to make sure that children can be mutilated without the permission of their parents. He's not allowed to leave until all children in New Jersey are permitted to be mutilated without parental consent. That is extraordinarily important civil right. Every child that wants to be mutilated should be allowed to be mutilated.
Free country.
No matter how young they are, and no matter how unable they are to make a decision. Now, kids should they're not going to change the they are not going to change the law that you can't drink until you're 21, and they're not going to change the law that you can't go into the military until you're 18. And they're not going to change the law that you can't get tattoos without parental permission up until 18, because those things are important. But you can mutilate yourself before that. If your teacher, who is an official member of the Communist Teachers Union, agrees. Yes. And then you make a small donation to the local Stalinist Teachers Confederation in honor of that. I'm going to tell you, the border is so wide open that you could consider this single biggest invasion of the United States in our history. So the biggest invasion, I don't know that you can consider the revolution an invasion. They were here, right? And it was their country, and we took it back. I would say you'd consider the War of 1812 an invasion. And you would consider September 11 an invasion. That they were foreign organization, although not listed under a nation, listed under a terrorist official organization that attacked the United States in order to do substantial damage to it. You would consider, I guess, some of the Mexican War, the times they got over the border. And honestly, I tell you the truth, I don't remember the Mexican War. I read about it enough to know, were we fighting it in then America, or was it then Mexico that we got? But I think there was some incursion into then United States, Texas. Other than that, and unless you believe in UFOs, there have been no invasions of the United States, really. This is an invasion. The last group of, or the last years of illegal migration over the border under, even I'd say Obama, it may have started to some extent under Obama. But let's go pre-Obama. Before Obama, going back to the problems we had under Carter and Reagan, which I inherited when I was in the Justice Department. I handled both the Mario boat lift and the Haitian invasion. They really weren't invasions in the sense that they were not directed by anti-American forces. They were directed by criminal groups to seek profit, and then they were just spontaneous. And they were a combination of both. And they may have been more spontaneous than even criminal groups. This is directed by the Mexican cartels. They have evil designs on the United States. Their programs are intended to destroy the United States, and they do it in a very, very close relationship with a country that would like to destroy us, which is China. A good deal of the money they make and they get comes from China, as well as from other terrorist groups that want to see an end to the United States, ISIS. So they are making a lot of their profit with group, and large, define largely the group that attacked us on September 11th. And they are making a great deal of money off China that wants to supplant us by the turn of the century, or by mid-century. That's an invasion. It's much bigger, I would believe, than the War of 1812 or September 11. It's the numbers are a little sketchy, but the people that were intercepted amount to about 5 or 6 million people during the Biden administration. We've absorbed, at minimum, that we know of, well over 2 million of them, probably more like 3. And we have also absorbed, without any question, and no one would doubt that, about an equal number never detected. But we've had an invasion of conservatively 6 million people, directed by groups that have hostile intentions toward the United States. Not every single one of them is hostile to the United States that comes over. Not every single one of them is directly directed by them. But almost all of them are permitted to come in by them. So nobody's going to come in that they think is very inconsistent with that objective of destroying the United States. So they're going to send in criminals, drug dealers, money launderers, and child molesters and child traffickers. They're going to send in their own agents who can run their criminal businesses here that are intended to destroy the United States. They're going to help China forever and ever to send in fentanyl to kill Americans. 70,000 of them last year, which is like a war number. And they're going to help ISIS place terrorists here who are going to carry out terrorist attacks when we don't expect it. It's a war. They're at war with us. An invasion is a war. They're at war with the United States, and the beach bum in the White House doesn't get it, or he's on the other side of the war. with them. There's a chance.
Yep.
I'm not going to exclude that. I'm not going to accuse them of that because I can't prove it. But I'm not going to shout down anybody who looks at it that way, because it's a hypothesis that responsibly has to be considered, given his traitorous behavior with regard to China and Russia, Ukraine, given his totally irrational decision making, which which I will say also reflects not just his decision making, but the decision making who's ever calling the shots, and they may be the traitor. Who's ever calling the shots may be the traitor. He may be the
Absolutely.
the agent who's too senile and too stupid to know what he's really doing, and too greedy to ask questions, because he's always been obviously consumed with two things: pathological lie and pathological avarice. And they have now taken over as he becomes, deprived of almost any brain cells at all. So now that we are speaking of brain cells, right? We're going to take. We're going to do T2T.
Let's start with T2T.
Well, so we're going to do. That's a good one for Memorial Day. So let's do Tunnel to Towers first, so we can take care of our heroes. Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now. During the day, you do not, without any question, consume enough fruits and vegetables. And I imagine I am correct for all but about 10% of you. And I'm correct usually about me, not always. Whether you do or you don't, you should make sure that you have a stable amount every day. I can't tell you how important that is for your overall health, and how it has been for me and for my friends that use it. And it very easy to do. Unlike, making sure you have enough fruits and vegetables, if you're rushing and you miss lunch, or even, God forbid, you miss dinner, or you miss breakfast, or whatever, or you go out to dinner and you just don't happen to order enough. You take your fruit, you take your vegetable here, and I do it on the show because because I'm good in the morning with taking medicine. I remember when I get up to take whatever I have to take. I'm very bad at night taking medicine. I forget. I get lazy. I get into bed. I forget that I took it. I want to get up again and get it. So this helps me a lot, taking it on the show. So I hope you don't mind that I do it. And I really wish you take advantage of this and for me, do this. I know it, it's a little, people hear about these supplements all the time and they think, oh, gee. Here, I want you to think about this. All those supplements are trying to give you the vitamins that are in fruits and vegetables. So you can't take all those supplements. If you took all those supplements, I'd spend the whole hour taking pills. I don't know if that'd be even good for you, but you can't have enough fruits and vegetables. It's going to get you all the things that you need in just these 2 bottles right here. Now, if you buy it now, I don't know how long it's going to last. You get 35% off. You get 25% off the small ones. Or $25 off the small ones, rather. You get them right away. I want you to take them, and I'd like you to let me know. You let me know. If they don't work, let me know they don't work. Okay? And if they do work, let me know they work. All right? And if they don't work, I'll contact Dr. Howard, and we'll figure out why, and we'll make them work. No, we will. We'll figure out if there's something different about the way it has to be administered or whatever. They have to work. They will. I'm guaranteeing you that. So you go ahead and take my word for it. Go to balanceofnature.com, promo code Rudy, RUDY. Balanceofnature.com, promo code Rudy, and you don't have to put a little tree or leaf in for the N in nature. You can put a regular A rather there. You don't have to put a tree. So they have a little A right here. For their A, they have a little leaf. You don't need that. You don't need that. It's okay. They'll let you have your discount even if you don't put that in. So migrant smugglers. Now, I told you they don't send the best people in. And stop the romanticizing of these migrants, which began when we took away the word illegal migrant. Now, I'm sorry, they're all illegal migrants. There was a period of time they used a sort of phony description. And they said, well, the ones we're talking about are the ones seeking asylum. And although they haven't been granted asylum, nor have they had a hearing, they're presumed to be legal. Who says that? It's not like a criminal case. They're not presumed anything. If you want to do a presumption based on statistics, they should be presumed to be illegal because 98% of them turn out to be illegal. Did you know that? 98% turn out to be illegal. But there's nothing legal about them. Are they in a little bit of a special status because we're stupid enough to say that if all you have to do is say you fear for persecution if you go home, we give you a hearing, and that hearing results in your staying here because there are 2 million of them pending, and they're awaiting 5 years. So, people are given court dates of 3 weeks from now, they don't show up. You give them a court date 5 years from now, and they're going to go back to the country they don't want to come from, and you're treating them like a king, Adams, in New York, and they're going to show up for the hearing? I mean, this is all intended to get up a sufficient number so we'll make them all citizens and they'll all vote Democrat. And they'll all be dependent on the government so the Democrats can boss them around. And a few of them won't be, and that, it'll be such a small percentage, it won't hurt the Democrat numbers, because as people become independent, as people become real people, real independent human beings able to take care of themselves, they look at the Democrat Party and they realize it's a communist socialist party intended to take advantage of them, destroy them, and do shit for them. Because they've been doing shit for them since Roosevelt. And that's why people want the answer to why do people in Chicago vote Democrat after 55 years of every weekend is a slaughter of their children because of the dependency brainwashing of the Democrat Party. That's why. Same thing in New York. So now a certain number of the migrant smugglers are setting up their own little groups when they get here, and for a $10,000 to $20,000 package, they get you in, and they theoretically, get you a place to stay, which is like in a tent or something, but they probably make you think you're staying in a Hollywood house or something, like they used to do with the poor with the Haitians, who they would, they claim how inhumane I was in trying to stop them from coming, and they would take like $200 from them, which is the last money they had, and every fifth boat would drown in the Atlantic Ocean, and they didn't give a damn. That's how much they cared about it. And when they got here, they were told they'd have a big house in Miami. They had nothing. They had nothing. Zero. That's caring about them. How about going there and try to help them where they are instead of going there like the Clintons did and stealing all their money? Can you imagine stealing money from the Haitians? I'm going to tell you a story. I went to Haiti in 1982, I think it was, to negotiate a treaty with the Haitian government to do something like President Trump did with the Mexicans, to try to stop this very dangerous voyage across the Atlantic, in which we would, you go back and look at the newspaper articles, I'd say every 2 months we had a boatload of bodies showing up on Fort Lauderdale, Boca, even as high up as Palm Beach and as south as, I don't know about the Keys, but certainly in Miami. And it was 100,000 a month. We're talking a lot of people, 100,000 a month. They would come in. Think of, if you've been to any of those South Shore beaches in Miami, you know how big they are, right? Or, if you're a New Yorker, they're like Jones Beach. So can you imagine? It's 5 o'clock in the morning and 200 people have been let off a boat, put on the beach. The boat turns around and heads back to Port-au-Prince. And you're there with your clothes. And if you got $10 or $20, you're rich. And you have a card of who to go see in Miami who probably doesn't exist. And you have a card that you're going to work at a business that doesn't exist. And that nobody greets you. They throw you off the boat, they leave you on the beach, and you walk on the road. And at best, they tell you the direction to Miami, that way, usually north, because they usually ended up south of Miami. And you start walking on the road, and the immigration service or the police pick you up. Groups of 100, 200, 300. And they were very often, they didn't know at the beginning to claim asylum. So they were arrested immediately and they were subject to deportation. But because there were so many and all they could do were about a couple of thousand a year, quickly it became 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. Then the lawyers got involved. The dishonest, making believe they're goody two-shoes because they're representing the Haitians for nothing, and taught them to lie, taught them to say, I'm fleeing persecution. Not only weren't they fleeing persecution, but Baby Doc didn't even know who the hell they were. Baby Doc would persecute some of his political enemies, but the main thing he was interested in was stealing money. They had no money to steal. They were ignored. They were treated like crap, like chattel, like non-human beings. They had poverty unlike anything in the hemisphere, more like India than let's say Brazil. But they were not in fear of political persecution. And that's what the law says, but they were taught to say that. So then that began a major that got it all backed up in the courts like this. So I argued the cases in court, and we returned a number, but our real objective was, how do we stop it? So somebody came up with the idea, it was not me. Somebody came up with the idea of trying to have the hearings done in Port-au-Prince before they left. And we even sent a Coast Guard cutter, so it would be on American property, so they'd have their rights. So I went there and I spent almost a week, and I negotiated the treaty agreement with Baby Doc. Horrible man. Doesn't mean I'm not going to negotiate with him. And he signed it. It came back, and we got it under control, and it hasn't really resumed to where it was before. And and then remember, Trump did that in Mexico, and we got down to record low numbers very quickly. It's the first thing that Biden vetoed. You can only do that if you want illegal immigration. You can only do that if you actually deliberately want an influx of a number of people in the United States that we can't handle in order to make our society chaotic. And we know why he wants to do that, because he's serving the cause of communism. Nor does he really give a damn for you. The man, when I said the man is not a nice man, he's really a miserable human being. 40% vacation. We revealed that yesterday. How about in March, he promised to go to East Palestine. Still hasn't done it. Haven't forgotten, Joe. Haven't forgotten what a miserable, creepy, disgusting liar you are. Because I went to Palestine. They could use a president. Meanwhile, what are you doing? Here's a nice little juxtaposition of a picture that I'll just put up like this here. There he is. Dumb on the beach.
Still? He's on the beach?
Yeah, that's probably big print. That's probably a big print book written for a 2-year-old that he's reading. Look at the devastation. Look at the devastation that he ignores. That was Palestine. Look at that. Doesn't care. He doesn't care because he doesn't even care about his granddaughter. Will you admit, when you said, oh, we voted for him because he's a nicer guy than Trump? I had lunch with Trump today and about 4 or 5 guys. Trump is a very nice guy. He shakes hands with everybody in the club. He hugs them, puts his arm around them. They all know him. He knows their family. He asks about their children. He knows the name of a Secret Service agent. This wouldn't have happened if he were president. He'd have gone there. He went there as not as president. Now, he may have done that to show Trump up. I mean, to show Biden up a little. But maybe he also went there to try to motivate him to get up off his and go there. So just to make the point that when I tell you that this group of migrants are not all nice little poor people that just want to come to the United States so they can work. First of all, most of them don't work in their own country. So what are they going to do here? They're coming here for what Adams has made abundantly clear they get, and big time in New York. He's been advertising it for 2 years. Plenty of welfare. A COVID level welfare where you make more money not working than working. I want you to listen when the people are interviewed. I want you to look and listen when the people are interviewed. These people look like highly skilled laborers to you. We need highly skilled laborers. It's not them. They look like farm workers? No. They look like people that are going to be wards of the government? You're damn right they do. And they are. That's the best of them. The other ones are the 41 that were just arrested in the Roosevelt Hotel for committing crimes against other ones, against their fellow illegal immigrant. Much of it men beating the crap out of women. How about a 30-year-old male was arrested for sexually molesting his 11-year-old daughter? You like that? This is what you're letting in. What do you think the cartels let in? Altar boys? You think they're picking like really highly skilled people that could help the United States, have nothing to do with their drugs or human trafficking, maybe even turn them in when they get into those neighborhoods? You think they're letting them in? Okay, if they are, may I say something to you? You don't have to watch the show. I don't care. You're stupid. A 20-year-old woman was arrested Thursday for alleging slapping an NYPD officer who was attempting to stop her from stealing a motorbike. She had been arrested back in July for attacking her boyfriend with a weapon. In both cases, she was freed on bail. So now we also do the same thing with them. We free them on bail. They beat the living daylights out of each other. They molest each other, and we let them back out so they can do it again. I mean, where is the rule that if you're an illegal immigrant, you're a flight risk? That's the whole purpose of bail. The main purpose of bail is to assure that the person will return. 90+% of these people don't return. That alone should allow a finding that they're a flight risk and you can hold them. I say when they commit a crime, and it isn't a serious crime, really, if it's a serious crime, you put them in jail forever. I don't care if put them in our jails. It'll stop them from committing crimes. But if it's a crime like this, trying to steal a bike, you pick them up, you take them across town, and you give them to the Immigration Service. And you say, Biden, stick it up this is your problem. I may have to put up with the ones that aren't committing crimes, but I sure as hell am not putting up with the ones that are committing crimes. I never put up with any that committed crimes. They were turned over to Immigration Service. When they told me we had too many people there, I said, it's your problem. I'm leaving them here, and I'm leaving. And if you let them go, it's a violation of federal law and we'll report you. I didn't have to do that because we had different people then. And even Clinton was a different kind of president. Clinton had a certain degree of patriotism, and he wasn't a traitor. Well, this is another article about the one who slapped the cop who was let out with no bail. And when are we going to fix this? When? And when are we going to put Fauci in jail? Fauci appeared on CNN the other day. It was like ridiculous. They went through his positions on mask. Shouldn't wear a mask. Mask no good. Mask not healthy. Got to wear a mask. Have to wear a mask. It's your choice to wear a mask or not. No, it's a mandatory. No, children don't have to have masks on, even though they can't get the disease, just so they can't communicate when they're in school and they fall behind by 30%. Everybody else. Thank you, Fauci. One mask not enough. You got to wear 2 or 3 masks. No, you can't wear a mask at all. Masks are really bad. So on CNN, he was confronted with a study that says that masks do no good. They make little to no difference in the course of. He agreed that they don't. But then he said, but they do in individual cases. Tell me what that is. Tell me what that means. It means overall, masks do no good. But they do good in individual cases. What does that mean?
Double talk.
Yeah. It's 1984, right?
Yep.
So why are we spending so much time on Fauci's mask thing, which is ridiculous? And why aren't we demanding that he release his royalties? Fauci has, for the last 16 to 20 years, collected royalties from pharmaceutical companies on medicines that he helped to theoretically create, but really to expedite. It's like the bribe they pay to the building inspectors, except it's in the millions rather than cheap little money. And that's what he really is. He's like a crooked building inspector, a little slimy, ratty looking business inspector. He will not reveal the royalties that he got. Exactly tell me where he gets the right to do that. He works for the federal government. He obtained that money because he works for the federal government. And there is at least a suspicion that money is tied into a conflict of interest that led to the death of how many Americans? A million?
Well over 1 million.
Okay. And we don't care enough to want to know who gave him those royalties. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was the XYZ company making better aspirin. Yeah, improved aspirin. And they gave him $2 million. Or maybe it was Pfizer. Or have you heard of Moderna? Became billionaires. Now, suppose he was getting money from them. You think you'd look differently when he lied about ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine and got people killed? You think now he did it just not because it was a mistake, but because he's a miserable crook? I am not saying he's a miserable crook. I am saying that question can be answered by opening up the royalties. And if it shows that he's not, then he's the stupidest man in the world for not opening them up. And if it shows that it is, well, then he's the shrewd little conniving son of a bitch that we think he is.
Mayor, did you know who he was before the pandemic?
No, I wouldn't have known him. I mean, if I saw him in the White House, I would have thought they were not doing a good enough job of rat control. You look like a little rat to me, walking around, little rat.
Yeah,
He does, right?
Yeah, it was a little rat with a suit on.
It's easy to make a caricature of him into a rat.
A rat with a suit on.
Yeah.
It's quite something. Should we take our last commercial break and hear from our friends at QUX?
Our last, but not by any means our least important. This can save you a lot of money, and it can give you a great deal of privacy.
Get people off your back.
The year is 2022. Cancel culture is the new normal. Online freedom as we know it has ended. Digital stockades are here. All activity is monitored, stored, and predictively analyzed by a technological cartel. We're being converted into a digital resource, a digital currency to be farmed for metadata and loaded into a computerized combine, blockchained to a social engineering operating system. However, it doesn't have to be this way. Be part of a new technological revolution. Right now, 1,000 test pilots have launched themselves into a new digital frontier, a private network outside of big tech control. New technology with state-of-the-art digital engagement and never-done-before security and privacy features that are now operational. With QUX, digital engagement, entertainment, communication, and commercial exchange will never be the same. We are QUX. QUX. Advanced pre-release sales are limited to 3,000. Order now by visiting QUX.tv. Get yours now before they sell out. Be part of a brand new online experience that you control.
I'm really impressed by the size of that box. I mean, we have one right over there. It's a tiny little box that it can do all that stuff. It can get every channel imaginable.
Isn't it great?
I mean, I imagine there are a few we can't get, but I haven't found one yet. It gets every channel imaginable. The quality is the same or better as anything else. And it allows you to broadcast a little back and forth if you want. So I would get it. And it's going to grow. It has all sorts of capacities for growth into new technologies. And it costs less than $200 for the device. $198 for the device, Ted?
How much is the device?
I think it's
We had a
190
30. Let's see, with the device 100, and let me get the right price here.
and the programs start at only $15.99, $45, and then you can do one for $114.99 a
That's
month,
right.
which is the super duper every channel, including the ones you never watch.
That's right, Mayor. You can start off with a core package as low as just $19.99
I thought
a
it was
month.
15. Okay,
They go-
$19.99.
But that's right. They go all the way up to, well,
They have a
Look,
$45 package, which is the one that gets about 80% of the traffic. And then there's a one for $114.99, which is the super package. Look, if you want to get it, get it. I'm just telling you, it's got lots of channels you don't use particularly, but maybe you do. And then when you want it, you got to go pay for it. And then you can get the advanced QUX box for $199.99, and you get the remote for $19.99. That package is at least half of anybody else, and ain't going to change. It's going to remain a nice, low-priced, reasonably priced. But the main thing about it is that it offers maximum protection against people taking your information. You're not going to have to worry about these people who are worried about their cameras. You're not going to have to worry about people trying to figure out, do you like gummy bears, or do you like, and we'll sell it to you with marijuana in it, which is becoming a real problem, by the way, for kids. We'll get to that in a minute. It's not going to figure out, you buy a pair of shoes, and then for the next 3 weeks, you get 55,000 advertisements on shoes, and they even forget you're a man, and they start selling you women's shoes because they figure maybe you're one of those that's being brainwashed by I don't know if Attorney General Garland's son-in-law is making a fortune, or if just critical race theory, or he's doing gender grooming as well. I'm going to have to find out. Panorama.
yeah.
We're going to find out because,
They're probably investing in companies.
but I really do think when you get into these into these schools, and you start doing CRT, it's pretty easy to slip over into doing mutilation as well. Rich Lowry, who I kind of like Rich Lowry. I mean, he has an essentially conservative view on the world. He does have a pretty bad case, but not the worst case of Trump derangement syndrome. I would think he could be cured with pills rather than injections. There are people that need substantial operations, which are that's really serious and dangerous stuff.
Partial lobotomies?
Yeah, and if no, not lobotomies. No, you're actually returning their brain to normal. You're taking out the sludge in their brain that got there from.
Now. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You suck it out. You can do it. You can actually do it without a major incision. You can do it with that laparoscopic surgery. And the way it happens is many years of watching NBC, CBS, ABC, very much exacerbated. If you add even a couple of hours of MSNBC or CNN, it gets much worse. Much like marijuana, the younger you are, the more dangerous it is. So if you are like,
the more dangerous it is, the younger you are.
Younger you are. So let's say
Okay.
you're a wacko left-wing woman, who has all that stringy white hair. You make your hair white even though you're 22 years old.
Earrings and knit
Yeah, and you do everything you can to make yourself as ugly as possible because you're angry at society.
Yeah.
And you go
bitter.
and
These
you
are
go
bitter,
on,
bitter
and
women.
you go on these marches where every woman looks like one of the bad witches.
Hocus pocus.
Yeah, and they yell and scream and act like animals. But you bring your kid along, or you let your kid watch you on CNN or MSNBC. Unlike you, who will get some brain damage from it, the kid gets very significant, quick brain damage. There's a scientific word, and as you know, Dr. Maria is up in New Hampshire helping her dad right now. So we can't get the science. There's a scientific term for this. I call it sludge. You get sludge on the brain. There is a good thing about it. You do not need a major invasive surgery for this. This can be removed with a suction cup, but you should not do this yourself. In fact, you can't. It has to be done by a skilled surgeon who is outside of the Fauci club. This surgeon makes no illegal royalties, and he will do it for you. It takes about a week of rest. You really shouldn't go to work, because at that time when the sludge is removed, you start seeing realities that frighten the living daylights out of you. Yeah. Like you find out that you really are paying 60% more for things than you really are, because you reject that. You make believe you're not. The sludge makes you reject it.
Yeah.
You realize that 400,000 or 500,000 people in Ukraine were elected because you voted for Biden.
Yeah.
You imagine the guilt that creates immediately when you realize that?
Yeah, they can't ever face it.
You realize that the fentanyl that affected your neighbor's kid was almost deliberately, almost as if it was brought in by Biden in his connection to China. And then if you are a foreign policy expert of any kind or a national security person, you realize we gave away just about the closest base we have to China, which had just been remodeled to the extent of billions of dollars, was considered one of our 4 or 5 most effective air bases, 400 miles from China. And if you now have the sludge removed, you have a brain again. And you say to yourself, why would a president do that? And many people quickly come to the assumption that he's a traitor. And then when you tell them and you show them the proof that he got around $31 million for China, they want to know why other people are so stupid to not figure out that he was bribed. This has happened to us over the course of 4 or 5 years, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We've gotten, I got a big chunk of it in like a 2-month period way back in 18 and 19. But I didn't get it all in one day. And it took me a little while, honestly, to absorb it. If they took the sludge out of my brain that was, brainwashing and preventing all this, and all of a sudden I realized how bad Biden was, this could be very serious effect. So you should be under a doctor's care when you have the laparoscopic surgery done. We do not yet have a sponsor for it because they're not sure they want to commercially sponsor. I have told them I'm willing to give out, locations and places, but at this point they want to be very, very careful about it.
Well, are there some home remedies people could turn to, such as listening to WABC radio? So if someone were to be exposed to CNN too much,
they should put a few
tuning
people
in at 3 p.m. on WABC radio. Does that counter some of the some of the sludge?
Yeah, I would suggest it ain't going to help listening to Wiener. But other than
on Sunday,
and he gets a half an hour a week, right? I don't even know.
And
when is he on?
And they have Curtis on there to slap him around.
Yeah. How about that? You got to catch.
Yeah, Curtis slaps him in Curtis slaps him into the ground, so it isn't so bad. It won't hurt. In fact, it may actually help to have a little bit of that because it's a little bit like, you know, it's a little like taking somebody off drugs. I mean, if all of a
showing
sudden
them this is what,
immediately you show them that the guy that you respect hates his grandchild.
yeah,
It's like, wow, the guy's a grandchild hater.
yeah, that's tough. That's defend that.
The guy's a grandchild hater.
How are they going to defend that this time around?
Yeah. So you have Wiener around, and you know he makes it a little bit easy because he says all that Democrat left wing bullshit and you know all that stuff. Yeah. But yeah, WABC is a great answer. Honestly, Newsmax is a great answer. New Epoch Times is a fabulous answer. If you're still if you see people in that category, one of the things that happens to you is when you take the sludge out, you're able to read again. Nobody really reads the New York Times. They look at the headlines and the first paragraph. And in that, they malign and defame everyone. I don't feel particularly put upon because I'm just one of the many they defame all the time. Like on September 11, when they tell the history, they forget I had anything to do with it. Well, Fox does that too. That's okay. I know I was. I don't need them to tell me. All the people that were there know I was. And they don't need them to tell you. But this is a very serious operation. And but I would not suggest getting involved in it yet because it's still at the experimental stage.
You could spontaneously commit suicide once you realize the reality.
Now, let me tell you that everything I said to you was a joke. Please do not act on it.
Of course. You did mention early on, do not try this from home.
Yeah, do not. This is a joke. It's a joke.
Parody. We just went through a nice little parody.
It's a parody. But it is true that there is a sickness called Trump derangement.
And you should listen to WABC radio.
And you should listen to WABC radio because it's one of the cures. And I don't know that it wouldn't be a bad idea to go to a psychiatrist.
It's called mass formation psychosis.
Yeah, no, but I'm not sure you'd find a psychiatrist who would treat you for it because most of the psychiatrists I know are left of left. I mean, Freud was a leftist idiot.
Oh yeah.
Well, where does that leave conservatives if they actually legitimately want to get some psychiatric help?
I know conservative psychiatrists. I consulted them on Biden, and there are conservative psychiatrists. But on this issue, how can you go to a look? Nobody says that psychiatrists are normal.
They're not. Every psychiatrist I've ever met is the perfect example of whom nobody needs a psychiatrist more than them, actually.
I don't know if I go that far. I don't.
That's funny.
I do tend to exaggerate a little.
Okay, I know. But I mean, a lot of psychiatrists have their own issues.
Yeah,
the ones who have Trump derangement syndrome, they need to go to a psychiatrist to get cured. So you have to, there should be a subspecialty of psychiatrists who either are pro-Trump or neutral and can therefore deal with Trump derangement syndrome because it really should be in the BDS-5.
It should be put in the books.
It's a mental illness.
Yeah.
Yeah. No question about it.
Yeah.
When you talk to people who have it and have a reasonable discussion with them and you go through all the rational things like the border is open and they insist that it's closed and you show them pictures of thousands of people coming over the border. You show them pictures of the Border Patrol helping them come over the border. You show them pictures of the Border Patrol getting rid of the obstructions that Governor Abbott put up. Still tell you, well, it's closed. When you show them the doors open on the gate.
Welded open.
Yeah, they say, oh, it's still closed.
Still closed.
And you say, I know, it's a mental illness. I can't do anything more with this. Do you guys know what the Burning Man is?
The Burning Man?
I do know all about Burning Man. I have some friends that go there.
I have a daughter for a couple of years.
Yeah, I've been invited, Mayor. It's tough. Apparently, in the past, I can't be that tough if I'm getting invited. But yes, I am very familiar with Burning Man.
No, it's not all left wing.
No. But I'm just saying. I thought it used to be a little bit more of an exclusive event, and now it's as long as you got some money, you can. It's an interesting thing.
The U.S. Open, it's turning into trailer trash.
Yeah, like the U.S. Open.
U.S. Open is
what
complete
happened?
Trailer trash.
Yeah.
Have you read the articles the last couple of days? First of all, it's filled with pot. It's filled with marijuana. The tennis players are complaining.
Wow.
That it's interfering with their playing. It's also filled with all kinds of cheap garbage. What do you call that stuff that they sell down on Canal Street?
Paraphernalia.
Yeah, all kinds of
Really?
crap. All kinds of crap. I don't know if they're selling medical marijuana pies, but there's a group that is now petitioning Governor Hochul because they want to be allowed to make medical marijuana pies, and they believe they should be able to sell it legally. And a lot of kids are taking the little marijuana gummy bears because they think it's candy.
Oh, jeez.
And they're getting extraordinarily sick. I don't know if any have died yet.
Well, some of it's going to
But
wind up with fentanyl in it.
They're stupid, ignorant parents or siblings.
Yeah.
Leave it around the house. Well, we've had a couple of dogs that died of that.
And of course, U.S. Open happens here in New York, correct? The U.S. Open.
Yeah,
tennis
it's happening
championship
right now.
in New York.
Yeah, it's just hard to see it anymore because it's filled with a big.
Cloud.
If you come in from let's say well, if you come in from LaGuardia, you don't see it because
came in from.
LaGuardia is beyond it. If you look back, you used to be able to see that and City Field. Now, if you look back, it looks like there's some industrial site there because there's all this smoke covering the Arthur Ashe Stadium. Interesting is Arthur Ashe Stadium. The Arthur Ashe Stadium. And
There's a plume.
A haze.
it's still not bad enough to cover. You
Purple
still
A
haze.
permanent purple
so
haze.
when you come out of LaGuardia Airport, look to you would always be your left because when you come out of LaGuardia Airport, you're always facing. I think you're probably facing north, south, east, west into Manhattan. So you look west. You look east, rather. You look east. It's only 2 miles away, 3 miles
From
away.
LaGuardia?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, you'll see it. Oh, here's how to see it.
Oh, it's in
If you
Queens.
come in that route over, you can't now because you might disturb the tennis players.
Oh, they closed the.
Oh,
They closed
yeah.
the. They closed.
Creating a slight danger of accidents at LaGuardia. You cut down lanes for landing at LaGuardia, which doesn't have enough lanes anyway and has ones that are too small because it was built at a very early time with not enough land. Unlike Kennedy or Newark, which are much safer airports, you take away a couple of those lanes, those.
Yeah.
Now you've forced more planes into the remaining ones. I objected to that, and they were really upset with me. And I was really upset with them. I always get more upset with the people that I'm upset with than get upset with me because I'm right and they're wrong. So when I did that, all the tennis players went after me, and I said, "Oh, gee, I don't want to disturb them. I don't want to, just explain to me how a guy can get up and hit a 98-mile-an-hour fastball with the crowd yelling like crazy and has the concentration span to hit it. And you have to, every time you play, have the referee go,
Yeah, they do that. You're right.
Vicky Von Veckwick is going to have a hard time with her.
You would say this to them, or was
Vicky
this
Von Veckwick will go, or Johan.
Jagogovich. You're right. They do that in I don't watch tennis, but enough. They have a thing where you be quiet, right? It's a whole
When you
thing.
began playing tennis like I did in Central Park in Harlem, used to play with my friend who was African American, and every once in a while we would get the F out of here, you white bastard.
Oh, you were the one.
Yeah, get out of here, you were.
Yeah.
I just
what would happen if you told everyone to shush before you hit?
They're gonna get the crap bit out of me. They would have said, "You shush." I just hit the ball harder. That's all.
You play tennis?
Yeah.
How long did you play tennis?
Oh, until I was about 40.
Oh, wait, what?
When my knees went bad.
Oh, you played tennis all your life, or you know? That was a thing throughout your life.
That is hard on your knees. That game is very
well,
hard.
it was the catching that ruined my knees. Tennis made it much worse.
When did you? Was that a sport you got into in your 20s or?
Yeah, it's a sport I got into
as an adult.
After I stopped playing baseball regularly because I needed a sport, and I would play in New York. You play indoors a lot, and I'd play all winter indoors, and particularly as in the U.S. Attorney's office because I had a lot of partners there.
Yeah,
everybody played, so we had a group
Tennis.
of people.
That's interesting.
So we would go sometimes even before we go at like 6 a.m.
Before
play between 6 and 10.
Yeah, it's a workout.
I remember going out
competitive, right?
I remember going out to. They used to have paid tennis courts right near what was then Shea Stadium. I used to remember going out there early in the morning because nobody would go early in the morning. I'd drive out with my car. I also lived in Queens for a while, so I'd stop there before I went into the U.S. Attorney's office, and I'd meet a pal and we play tennis. But I mean, there was a lot. Nobody stopped the noise for me.
Yeah, you somehow managed.
I mean, they say the airplane noise disturbs us.
So they did.
I said, look, the Mets live with this airplane noise. You know.
Well, is that the best example? I mean, is that the best
sorry,
example?
I do not allow people to make fun of the Mets.
Okay, they've won a few. They've won too. They're not the worst. I mean, I'm a Tigers fan, so I got to be careful anyway.
In comparison to the Yankees, they've won a minuscule number of times, but they have won. Now, but they both did horrible this year. If the Mets can put up with it, why can't these privileged, entitled, multi-millionaire, jet set put up with a little noise of a plane? I mean, the planes the planes are going to come by and we have to stop playing tennis when you can play baseball, football. When the Jets were there, Joe Namath could throw the ball 90 yards with an airplane in the air.
Broadway Joe, he guaranteed it.
I don't think Joe ever complained about the Jets. He shouldn't. He was a Jet.
Yeah, that would be tough. Yeah. So who won that battle, Mayor? You or the tennis players?
They did. Now maybe the planes can't go over it because
can't see
because there isn't enough visibility with all the pot coming up.
Speaking of pot, you brought up Burning Man to start this conversation.
Oh,
before we got into the US.
Burning Man had a big problem. They had a big rain thing, and people flooded, and somebody may have died, and I don't know if they could burn the man with the rain.
What is it? Where is it?
Burning Man. It's out in the desert.
Somewhere it's a California. You know, it's a California thing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's starting to sound more and more like it.
It's out in the wood. It's out in the desert.
People who go tell me it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Very intellectual.
But okay, Mayor, I'll say the one.
I just don't see what's intellectual about burning a man.
So it's like a hippie fest.
It's a hippie fest out in the desert. Yeah. It was pretty exclusive. It's kind of hard to get to. So
you need a tent.
Yeah, you need a tent, and you stay overnight. And it's these tech guys, these tech guys from Silicon Valley.
My daughter loves it.
Yeah, I have friends that go, and they love to tell you about it too. Maybe the only thing worse than getting stuck at Burning Man in the mud is getting stuck in a conversation with someone telling you about their Burning Man experience.
Oh yeah.
It's
I think they sit around and talk.
That's what they do. It's
they
interesting.
Sit around and talk about how terrible Trump is.
Yeah.
Talk themselves into
sit around and talk about how terrible Giuliani is.
Yeah.
I wonder how my daughter feels there.
Oh, she's got your back when it comes down to it.
No, I know she does, but I wonder if they give her a hard time. She's so tough. I think she
don't take
probably afraid. Probably afraid to give her a hard time. So this is what it looks like. The edible ODs on the rise. See right down here. So your kid sees these hanging around the house. I'm going to tell you something. I saw those hanging around the house, right? I might grab one or two.
Yeah. You've been
all of a sudden
candy.
I'm banging in the wall. I take two of these, I'm banging in the walls. So what does it do to kids?
Oh gosh.
And these have been studies now that go back to 2017. So now the cases have tripled, and then they've gone up 14 times. This is kids coming to the hospital from overdoses from this. So we've had things like they pass out, they suddenly fall asleep.
It's probably horrifying for them.
They slur their speech. In other words, they sound like Biden. Right. They have difficulty walking. Well, that's like Biden. or they have a basic lack of coordination, lethargy, dry mouth, dilated pupils, red eye, rapid heartbeat, and vomiting. In the worst cases, they actually require intubation for troubled breathing or IV treatment for dehydration.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
This is because parents or siblings leave it around the house. It's because we allow people to sell it legally. Why? Because we have encouraged the use of marijuana. I believe that all these studies that are coming out right now about how dangerous marijuana was suppressed.
Yeah.
So this could happen.
Yeah, they're going to
Just like why would they be any different than the pharmaceutical companies that suppress information about the side effects of drugs? They're even more, inherently, than the pharmaceutical companies. Mitch McConnell had a second day back at work and is still talking. That's a news item.
Well, it is. It is. And it's not, and as you've said, Mayor, it's not even an age thing, right? It's
So
not.
what are they? Shouldn't they? I get that they have this whole big thing, which as a Republican, by the way, I'm not by any means opposed to, which is if he gets removed, they do have a law, I think, in Kentucky that requires the governor to put in a Republican. I have no idea how constitutional that law is. Let's say it's not. So if McConnell goes off to the farm they should develop for him and Feinstein and
Fetterman, which proves it's not an age thing.
Fetterman might be. No, Fetterman's not dangerous, right? No. He just Fetterman looks dangerous because he's so big.
He's a big guy, right? But yeah.
Like if he were walking around the street acting like that, I think the cops, if they didn't know him, would kind of target him and say, we got to watch this guy. And then they find out he's harmless. But
yeah. Well, he's dangerous, Mayor, because somebody else is controlling him. He's a puppet of the.
No, I mean of violence. I mean violence.
Oh.
He looks like something out of a little bit out of a horror movie.
Well, we're not afraid of Biden in violence.
Like
right?
but
Can you imagine Biden trying to swing like that?
Biden is not a sinister looking guy.
No.
Fetterman with the hoodie. I mean, I don't know if Fetterman dressed up like a normal human being. I don't know if he'd be sinister looking, but he wears the hoodie and the thing, and he walks around like
He looks like a professional wrestler.
Looks like Frankenstein.
Yeah. Here comes Freddie the Fetterman.
He comes jumping in with his hoodie and his shorts. Imagine a meeting with him and Feinstein and some, the president with Joe Biden, even Mitch McConnell. What's up? Can you imagine that?
They could sit there for 30 hours and say nothing.
And then not one complete sentence, that's for sure.
They could just sit there.
That is quite.
Somebody have to come in and feed them, though.
Would you think the general public would find it so peculiar that politicians are becoming of this ilk? I mean, what they have.
I think Haley described it as a upper scale nursing home.
Yeah. Like the government is turning into a nursing home.
That was a good line. Even though we're not for her, we have to give her credit for a good line.
Yeah.
It's a very exclusive nursing home.
And it's like, but we have elections, right, Mayor? So people have the opportunity.
You don't have to vote because nowadays people vote for you in general elections. They might as well vote for you in the Senate. So they go up to Fetterman and they can't even with Fetterman. I don't think they can even do right hand, left hand. I think they have to I think somebody gets right down, gets below here at the Senate desk.
Yeah.
And they go.
But yeah. Well, that's the thing. Who's actually running the place?
Wrong hand, wrong vote. How do you take it back? You can't talk. Usually you can say, Mr. President, I'd request. Who's going to say that for him? Maybe they have a recording.
Yeah, they have push the button.
That's what they need.
Mr. President,
this
is the junior senator from Pennsylvania. Holy shit, the Mr. President, he's talking now.
Yeah,
wow.
Exactly. Like
Isn't that good?
It is. January
Isn't that good, Freddie Fetterman? I request a change of vote. Granted. Vote yay. He doesn't put his hand up. Nay. Now he's having trouble because he gets into a thing, he doesn't know who's doing it.
He forgets.
Well, Mayor, we're well into soccer time.
Anything you guys want to discuss before we sign off on our first day of the?
You mentioned obviously you saw the president, and
we'll go into some detail tomorrow about what he had to say that we can talk about. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of good stuff.
But the point being, he looked good. You look great.
Oh my goodness.
So we're gearing up for 24 and
he's ready. Yeah. He's ready. I mean, even this thing about the trials, I mean, he expects he's going to get a good many of them put off.
Yeah.
But he says, if I have to, I don't know, I can go out at night after the trial and have a rally.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He
said it might slow me down for a while having to go to the West Coast,
back and forth. Yeah.
Back and forth. But, we can do that on weekends. We can go out there on weekends. And he said, look, I'm still going to campaign 50 times more than that guy. And I'll tell you, even if they take a guy like Pretty Boy Newsom, and Pretty Boy's not going to want to campaign that much. First of all, he'll mess up his hair.
I think he'll wind up like.
Is that what we're going to call him, Pretty Boy? Is that his Gavin Newsom?
I don't think Newsom is the most intelligent in the world.
No, but I think he's the biggest threat. I think he's the biggest threat on the Democrat.
He winds up becoming Chris Christie with Vivek.
But he's not, because he plays nice with Trump, at least publicly, right? He's got an interesting strategy. I will say,
Vivek could eat him for lunch.
Oh yeah,
Newsom. Yeah, I agree with that. Newsom just come. Dinner at the French Laundry tonight, Governor. Right after you sign this COVID mandate.
Got to get a piece for here. Got to get a piece for here. We'll put a piece there. Yeah.
We'll see if Newsom.
See these little things coming out like that.
We got to see if this Newsom DeSantis debate happens. I don't know. Is DeSantis still running for president, or is that over? I haven't heard from the guy.
There was a fake item
that he
dropped out, and people were reacting to it. In fact, Maria warned me about it, not to react to it. I wasn't going to react to it.
But that's bad.
I'm very much of the thought that they should make up. Like, look, and I would like to give them the advantage of being more experienced in both of them in a way, and remind them that Reagan took Bush, and Bush accused him of voodoo economics, and also at times made suggestions that he was kind of dumb. Which he then reversed. Like many people who thought Lincoln was dumb, when they work with Reagan, they found out he was one of the more intelligent guys they work with. But it took a while. It's not unusual for guys who have really gone at each other worse than Trump and DeSantis to be president and vice president, much less just friends. Look what you go back now and look what he said about Cruz.
Yeah.
Cruz is his biggest ally.
Biggest advocator.
Yeah. I trust Cruz completely.
Yep.
And when he was on the floor of the convention that night and wouldn't leave, and he was sort of just playing up the fact that he wasn't endorsing Trump, I'm never going to support that guy ever. Now I'm a big fan.
Yep.
Big fan. I think he's one of the presidential. I kind of almost favored him over DeSantis as a presidential guy.
It even sets a good precedent.
Yeah.
The fact that he does that.
Yeah. I mean, I think these guys are professionals. Come on. And you overdo it. I ran for office, and you do overdo it.
He did an about face,
Yeah.
You do overdo it. Anybody who wants to say you don't is ridiculous. You get into it, and when you get into it, you overdo it. It's like when you have an argument with a friend.
Yeah.
And you're going to say things to the friend.
Something, right? I mean, that's one of the worst ones ever.
You have arguments with wives?
No, I wouldn't know that. I've never been married.
I wouldn't know it either. That's why I was happily married 3 times. If I fought a lot, why would I get remarried?
That's a good point. No, but that's actually a good point, and that's fair.
People say to me, I really like marriage. Rudy must really love marriage.
3 times. You did it 3 times.
A Muslim guy once told me I did the right way. I said, what do you mean I did it the right way? I said, I tell my kids, don't do this 3 wives at once. Yeah? It's very, very bad. They drive you nuts because they all want the same thing and they compare. So you buy one a diamond and the other one, you can't find quite the same diamond. It's a little cheaper. And she brings you to the Muslim court and sues you. She says, you don't think these women are aggressive? They have their own form of aggression.
Yes.
They may wear the thingy, but then when they get their rights, which is in the Muslim court, they become like animals and they compare everything. He said, I told my sons, do it like Giuliani. Have 3 wives, but at different times. And then he said, did you ever consider what it would be like? Think of all 3 wives. I'm saying nothing bad about any of them. And I don't even want an answer. I just want you to contemplate, what would it be like if you were married to all 3 at once?
Don't forget about it.
Well, I won't say anything. I just stop thinking about it.
That's fascinating.
But it proves that Rudy Giuliani believes in love.
Oh, there we go.
Such a terrible romantic.
It's hard to.
That's why I'm an opera fan.
Yeah.
I've had 3 serious girlfriends, and I have nothing but great things to say about all 3. If any of them are listening, even if they weren't listening, I'd say that. And I see what you're saying about love and marriage and going for it again, right? Like you probably. You wouldn't trade the experiences and the good moments. I'm sure.
So here's what I'm offering to people. I would like to get some responses on this, and you tell them the best way to respond. You'd like me to do a little commentary sometimes on opera?
Oh, well, let's comment below. Let us know right now, and we'll put this up there.
I can make it
like a special on
here's
the
one
opera.
of the, or I might do it as a special, because we're going to inaugurate. In a few weeks, we're going to inaugurate a second program called America's Mayor Confidential. Maybe I could make it part of that, because then people would subscribe, especially to that, and they'd be interested in that. And we do, like, once a week, we do a little bit on an opera, and I'd make the opera interesting for you. I have induced and created many, many opera fans because I make it accessible. People think of opera as, oh, it's so hard. First of all the music that you like, right down to rap music, has its antecedents in opera. And particularly, I'll tell you who are really prone to it: people who like Broadway music. I mean, if you like Sondheim, or if you like Lerner and Lowe, or Rodgers and Hammerstein, or any of the great Broadway composers, the step to opera is, and they're using the same music. They're using the same, also the music, the movie music of the 40s. I hate to tell you this, because the guy was a Nazi. It's Wagnerian. It's all inspired by Wagner. And everybody who thinks Wagner is so difficult to understand, Wagner is actually more melodic than a lot of Italian composers, and and not as complex. The problem with Wagner for people is operas are ridiculously long, and they are, except for Tristan and Isolde, they're terrible plots. Like the Ring, which is his great masterpiece, which is 19 hours. Is such a ridiculous plot that there have been enormously successful spoofs on it, movies making fun of it. And I'd love to do it. I mean, it really is ridiculous, about the kings and the gold, and then, oh, jeez, it's about pagan kings, and then he has everybody repeat their story 5 times. So the first guy comes out and tells you the story so he can sing. Then the second guy comes out and tells you the story so he can sing. Then the third guy comes out. By the time the fourth guy comes out, you're snoring. You know, I mean, it's like now Puccini, on the other hand, there isn't an opera over 3 hours. Puccini didn't think he could sit in the opera house that long. So you go to La Boheme, and it's over before you want it to be over, which is the way I think a great drama should be. You know, you want more of it. When
That's
it's over,
a good
you
way
say,
to measure.
oh,
That's a great way to measure.
Please,
Yeah.
more. Tosca is tight. Madame Butterfly, a teeny bit longer. Verdi operas tend to be everything because he was the most prolific composer. He composed, from the time he was a kid. So he had the short operas at first, and then he went to more complex operas. Although his great operas are all pretty concise, like Otello, which was one of his last, but probably the best opera ever written. Okay, there's my opera thing. So happy Labor Day. Congratulations to all of you who have the work ethic. It's the most wonderful thing you can have. And it's wonderful for you and your family and your self-fulfillment. And if you can give it to somebody else, please do. It's a much better answer than welfare. We should be teaching work ethic rather than giving out welfare.
Dependency.
Which is what I did when I did workfare, for which I am thanked at least 3 times a week when I walk the streets of the city. And I'm very, very grateful for that. Thank you, and have a great evening. And God bless on this holiday. God bless the greatest country on earth, the United States of America.
Our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common sense. So let's do it.